Welcome to the Million Dollar Blueprint with Taylor Pudetti, where we can talk about the honest truth about either starting a business or growing your business to the $1 million mark. I will give you a roadmap that provides you with the ideal client or buyer, financial wisdom, marketing, branding, leadership, and so much more. Thank you for joining the Million Dollar Blueprint. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Million Dollar Blueprint with Taylor Pudetti. Today, we are going to be talking about Mom Knows Best, picking a career that will support you with my daughter, Taylor Pudetti. I'm so excited to have you on today. I've been driving you a little nuts about telling you, you have to do this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor.
So she is my oldest daughter. As many of you already know, I have two girls. My oldest one, Taylor, is 24. Peyton is 14. And I have to say one of my favorite jobs in life is being a mom, watching them grow, succeed, and hit major milestones. So it's one thing that I love to see and be a part of. Today, I want to start with some questions of where you got today. Can I tell them currently where you are?
Yeah.
So Taylor just recently graduated with her bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Duquesne. She took their 11-month intense program. Little grouchy at times, not gonna lie. Thank God she was in Pittsburgh and we weren't, but I got the calls all the time. Very tough, but very impressive. She did it. She did it with amazing grades. And she's been on a few interviews and already has received 2 offers. So I'm excited to share her journey and kind of our thought process behind it. So Taylor, let's start off when you were little, and we didn't say at 12th grade, oh, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? We really started planning it kind of young, but just always getting you to think about, what do you want to do someday? So you always had that kind of always in the back of your mind. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts as a kid growing up.
I think it's a little unique for us because no one in our family's in healthcare, but I always knew I wanted to do something in medicine. I was one of those kids when I was younger who was always watching the gross doctor TV shows of surgeons cutting people open, and I'm sure my parents loved that. But
I have to interject. There would be times, like I'd put on some cartoons, I'm going to go take a shower, and I come back and she's going, Mom, they're doing eye surgery. And I'm like, what? LASIK. She could barely say it properly. And I'm like, oh my God, no, you cannot watch this. And then I would change the station and I'd come back and she'd go, Mom, baby A's in distress. Baby B's okay. I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, no, we're not watching that. So she would watch these shows and I would have to leave the room. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was a big fan of Dr. G, medical examiner. But anyways, so it was a little unique because I was never around anyone in the medical field, and she obviously is a businesswoman, so she knows the side of business, and I think it was a unique perspective. But one thing she always told me, and since we didn't really want to do the same thing, she always made sure that I knew whatever job or career I picked, I always had to figure out if that would align with my lifestyle. And she was very good about always making sure that whatever I picked, I would be able to support myself in the future. I'd be able to support the lifestyle I wanted to live. I think that was the big thing that you always taught me, and I know you always spoke about how Grandpa taught you that. And honestly, it wasn't specific to any career. It was more just you have to work for what you want to do in life. You can go and be anything you want. It might be tough at sometimes, but whatever you want to do, you can get there. You might have to jump through a few more hoops than other people, but as long as you work hard, you can do whatever you want. And one thing that I will say is I was always very encouraged to do many different things, try a bunch of things, figure out what I liked, didn't like. But yeah, I think the main piece of advice you always gave me, especially from a young age, was whatever career I want to do, just make sure that I'm able to support the lifestyle I want to live.
Yeah, but first I said make sure you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because then you'll always be successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want you to say, oh, I'd love to be a social worker and, drive the newest Ferrari, because that probably will not happen.
Yeah.
So that was something, yeah, I did talk to you a lot about, and so did Dad.
Yeah.
So now tell us, what was your thought process about going to college? Because you took that like a really big career move.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I will say she's very independent, didn't need a ton of guidance, which will probably be very opposite for your sister.
Yeah, a little bit. I think for college, obviously, I always knew I wanted to go to college, but I also knew that the career would kind of come along with time. So I did want to pick a college that supported my career, had a good program, but I also knew that, like she said, I just have to be happy, and happiness is also like a big part of life. So I also wanted to pick a college where I knew I'd have fun, have a good 4 years, make good friends, but also a place that would support my learning. So I took college, scouting out colleges very seriously.
Wait, let me just interrupt you. How many colleges do we end up seeing?
We saw 23 colleges. I dragged them around.
No joke. Just so I reiterate, yes, that was a 23
Yeah.
colleges.
I did drag them up and down the East Coast for many college tours for like 2.5 years. But so I ended up going to the University of Alabama for my first college for right after I graduated high school.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, roll tide. But yeah, so I knew going into college I obviously wanted to do something in medicine. And at the time, I had told people from when I was very little I wanted to be a doctor. So I went into college being pre-med. That did not last very long. I realized I didn't want to go to school for 10 plus years. And so then I switched. And I think I had a little bit of an identity crisis because my whole life I knew I wanted to pursue medicine. My mom always told me that do what makes me happy. I love helping people, so that's kind of the route I wanted to take. But I didn't really know where to go from there since I'd always wanted to be a doctor and I knew pre-med wasn't for me. Long story short, I ended up switching to pre-PA because I figured that would be like the next step down from a doctor, and I still wanted to pursue medicine. But back to college, yeah, I just wanted to pick a college that would support my learning but also be a good experience for 4 years.
I have to say it was a great experience for a mom and a dad to go down to those big SEC games.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. We are Bills fans. We have season tickets to the Bills, but going to a big college campus and the band, the $1 Million Band, the way they tailgate is completely opposite than the Bills fans. There is no jumping on tables. They are in dresses and slacks and dress shirts.
Yeah.
And everything is much more formal, and it's such a production.
Yeah, I think Dad was very happy when I picked probably the top SEC football school. I'm sure he was thrilled with that
He's
one.
like, yeah, what are you doing here? What
Yeah,
classes?
yeah.
Okay, can we talk about football?
Right, yeah. But I think one thing to point out with this whole college career move, I think it's important to know that you're so young, and I know I always get ahead of myself because I'm always telling my mom I don't have the next 10 years of my life planned out, and she always reiterates to me, I still have so much time, I'm so young. And even in college when I was 20 years old and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, it was always nice to have her to kind of remind me that I can change my career path a million times and nothing's ever set in stone. There's always unlimited options as far as careers go, and you're always kind of learning more about yourself as you get older, more about what you want to do, what you like, what your goals are long term. So I do think that's one thing that was nice for my college experience. Obviously, I'm a nurse now, and I was pre-PA for a while, but there's always time to be able to change your career path. Obviously, I still stuck in the realm of medicine and helping people, but careers can look different over time. So I think that's one thing that I learned throughout my 4 years of college. You don't need to have your whole life planned out, but yeah.
As much as you love to have
Yeah,
your life planned
I
out.
love my lists and my 10-year plans. And
Oh, yeah. And I do tell her, just sometimes let things happen how they have to happen. And whatever you plan, it's not going to be that way anyways.
Yeah.
So I always have to tell her, okay, you plan that, but just so you know that's not how it's going to go for you.
Yeah.
So far right now, you are a RN.
Yes.
And I know you have talked about being possibly an NP. You talk about maybe being a CRNA.
Yes.
And for anybody who's not in the medical field, she said that to me. I'm like, what? What was that?
What are those 4 letters?
Yeah. So certified what?
Registered nurse,
Yes.
anesthesiologist.
Yes. So, she's somewhere, so kind of at maybe the middle of your career.
Yeah, I'd say I'm still at the beginning of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now that you are here and you're going to see what's going next, let me ask you a few things. When you decide to go back to school, because you had your 4 years at Alabama, then you did the 11-month program at the University of Duquesne. I know you feel a little burnt out with education right now.
Very burnt out.
So what is your next step? Because we know you were offered 2 positions.
Yeah. So it's funny. I went into nursing school, and I was very adamant. I was not going to work bedside. I did not want to work in a hospital. I refused to work holidays, weekends. Basically, I wanted a nice 8 to 4, Monday through Friday nursing job. But that obviously has changed a little bit. I think going into nursing, I had a certain idea of what nursing was, and going through clinicals and being in the hospital, I think my view definitely changed a lot on what nursing was and what nursing entails. So towards the end of my nice 11-month program, I decided I actually do want to work bedside in a hospital, and I really enjoyed critical care. So one of my clinicals was in the MICU, which is medical ICU, intensive care unit. And that was one of my interviews that I had and was offered a job in. And then the other one was on a cardiac step-down unit. I also really loved cardiac. That was one of the systems and the specialties that really stuck out to me. So those are my 2 options at the moment. Still deciding, but yeah.
And of course, if she wanted to go into dermatology or something like that, injectables, I'd be all excited for that.
Yes.
Dad would go, what? Huh?
Yeah.
He'd have no idea.
Yeah.
But that is. So her next step is that.
Yes.
So let me ask you, I know you were a very intense kid with schooling.
Yes.
I recall in 9th grade, they went to school and they took an exam just to see where they were with their math skills. And do you want to tell that story?
No.
You came home distraught. I think she got like a 70 on it, and a 70 to Taylor is like failing.
Yeah.
So she came home, I need a tutor. For what? Math. Really? Yeah, I got a 70. Well, no, that's okay. No, this is like the first day of school. Okay, I'll get a tutor. Taylor got a tutor. Even the tutor was sometimes confused as to why she had the job.
I was already in accelerated math too, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
I was really falling behind there, but yeah.
So yeah, besides being accelerated math, did you get anything below like a 95 on your math regents?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Math was probably one of my strongest subjects in science.
But she was determined
Yes.
for that tutor. So she was one of those kids.
Yeah.
But I think that also built character for you as well.
Yeah. I definitely have always been driven academically. I've always loved learning. I've loved school. A little different than Peyton, but
A little.
yeah. But anyways, I've always just really enjoyed school. I've always wanted to challenge myself. Yeah, I was going somewhere with that thought, but.
So once you figured out your schooling of high school and stuff like that, I think it was like 10th grade, I said to you, we should get somebody who really knows the college process, really knows
Yes.
what to do, how to do it. I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure when I went to college, I was like, I'm in Rochester. What colleges are in Rochester? Okay, I'll apply to some. You could write I think it too. I think sometimes you could write an essay, but it wasn't. You didn't have to do it. I'm like, well, if I don't have to, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
And so, like, there was never any talk of ever visiting a college, going anywhere, or leaving Rochester. And so I knew, like, I couldn't help you in any way. So we hired a person that was their job. They took kids who are in high school, looked at the classes they're taking, helped you choose classes
Yes.
for your field, talk to you about getting into schools. Tell me, because I know at times I would say something, you go, Mom, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
So I knew trying to help you was not even a good idea.
Yeah.
You were going to give me like grief and just keep telling me that's not right.
Yeah.
So tell me, and many of you already probably know, like, hire an accountant, hire somebody to do something you don't know. What you do really well is what you should do. When you don't have the expertise to do things, I always say, have somebody else do it. It will cost you some money, but it will save you in time, aggravation, and you'll have better results.
And your family will be happier as a result when your daughter isn't screaming at you because you don't know anything about medicine.
Or the college process.
Yes.
So I think her name was Jackie, and I think Jackie did an amazing job
Yes.
in so many areas of the entire process that I didn't even know what the hell she was doing.
Yeah. It was nice because obviously colleges nowadays in the application process are a lot different. Like, you need 5 supplemental essays, you need to put your whole life story in there, and you really have to, you don't just apply what's your name, date of birth, and why do you want to go here. It's a lot bigger of a process. And I think also with not knowing a lot about the field of medicine and all the avenues that entailed and how to pick a correct college and XYZ, it was really helpful. And I think I was also fortunate that I was given this resource, and I don't think the process would have been as smooth if I didn't have Jackie. So that was really nice. I remember walking in the first day, and she gave me this giant book of every single college in the United States and told me to go through it. And I was very overwhelmed, but I was definitely thankful that I was able to work with her because I think it saved both of us a lot of.
I don't even think we'd still be talking to this
No,
day.
yeah.
We didn't have her.
It made us both a lot happier.
Yeah,
So.
happier, but yeah, I think that was an amazing resource. She did an amazing job. She knew the ins and outs. If you said a school, she goes, oh yeah, I can contact the blah blah of this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she just was an expert of experts, and that made it a huge difference.
Yeah. I think the one thing that was nice is I always knew I didn't want to stay in Rochester. I love, like I said earlier, I love learning. I've always wanted to like broaden my horizons, see new places. So I think it was nice being able to have her kind of guide us to different avenues. And I think it's also important because I don't think you should ever put yourself in a box. I think it's important to kind of get out there, see new things, have new experiences. And I kind of wanted that culture shock of going to a new place, knowing no one, and kind of forcing me to figure things out for myself. Like my mom said earlier, I've always been very independent, but I did want to kind of just throw myself and immerse myself into another culture, which would be the Southern culture in Alabama. But I did want to do that, and I think it taught me a lot of things about myself, being down there by myself and kind of having to navigate everything that college and life threw at me.
Yes, and for anybody who's listening, if you know somebody who's going to a southern state college that has the sorority situation, we're from upstate, so again, sororities aren't a thing really, or if they are, they get together once a month for lunch or something.
Yeah.
That is full-blown crazy crap. she would be calling me, telling me about outfits. I got to have it checked. I got to do this. I'm like, what the hell? The whole process of rush. Anybody who wants any information on, please feel free to contact Taylor.
Oh, I can help you on every single thing you need to know about sorority recruitment, both sides of it. I've been through it.
It was the craziest thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard of in my life.
Yeah.
At one point, I was like, "Are you sure you're not making this shit up? Because it's just like can't be." And then
Yeah.
she was sending me videos of the girls running to their house, and it looks like a stampede, and there's like thousands and thousands of girls running.
Yes.
It was honestly, it was the
Yeah.
craziest thing to see and go through and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
It was quite the spectacle.
yes,
You really had to see it with your own eyes to believe it.
that is very true. Because for me, I was like, okay, yep. And then she'd send me these videos and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? I wonder if we can attach that video of your house, of where they come out, open the doors, and they do the cheer.
Oh, yeah, the door song.
And
Yeah.
then they go from your sorority, and it's right kind of next to
Yeah.
the stadium
Yeah.
and stuff like that. If we can do that, I'll ask my person.
Yeah.
That is the coolest video. It just gives you something. Nick Saban's in it if you're a sports fan at all. And
Yeah.
he's talking, his voice, very cool.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I was an AO Pi, so Alpha Omicron Pi, a lamb. But my house was right next to the stadium, so if you walked out the back porch, you were basically walking into where you'd walk into a football game, which is super cool. And game days were a whole other experience, but
That was. And
Yeah.
I will say, sorority houses are like mansions on a hill.
Yeah.
But they're all in a row, and they're incredible. They opened the door to her house, and they had this mahogany staircase, spiral
Yeah.
staircase. And hanging from the ceiling is this spectacular chandelier that you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And then you walked to one room to the, which way? The grand piano was it to
Yeah.
the right?
Yeah, it was to the right.
Sitting room with a grand piano.
Yeah.
And the other side, I mean, it was like gorgeous. Decorator, gorgeous. And they had a dog,
yeah, we had a house dog. Her name was Primrose.
Primrose, and Primrose was related to.
Miss B, our house mom. Oh, actually, fun fact, she was in the same litter as Usher's dog. So that was one of the things they told us when we were in the house, which was a cool little fun fact. Prim and Usher's dog are related.
Yeah, but like Prim was like at the front of all the girls.
Yeah.
She was hysterical. So, anyways, again, crazy. If you've never seen it or been around it, it is eye-opening.
Yeah.
So Taylor, growing up, what else do you think help you? Oh, I got to help you shape your life. How about the time when you got your first professional job in between, and you worked for the orthopedic office?
Oh, yeah.
And you came home and you were shocked at the vacation?
Oh, yeah. I was so mad. I thought I just got all my vacation hours up front. I didn't know they accrued. And I was pretty pissed about that because I didn't understand what that meant. So I was like, I have no vacation hours. Little did I know I just got them over time. But
The other thing that was really funny, when she came home, she goes, do you know I only get 2 weeks of vacation? And I started laughing, and I go, well, yeah, how much did you think you'd get? And she started laughing. She goes, well, you guys just do what you want, when you want, however you want. And I'm like, wait. Let's back that up. Because when we started, Jim and I started, he has owned businesses, I've owned businesses. When we started, like, we were putting in, 80 hours a week. But now, later in life, we travel, we take long trips and things of that nature. And I think you just thought, like, you'll work when you want.
Yeah.
You don't work when you don't want to.
yeah, I mean, I was used to you getting up on a Thursday, exercising, going into work at 1 if you wanted. And I was like, okay, so I'll be in at 12, I guess. Like, I don't know. What did I know?
Yeah, it was a little bit of an eye opener. So, So we had to explain that, you start at the bottom.
Yes.
You work your ass off when you're younger to get to where you want to be later in life. And I think that's a good thing to mention. I think nowadays the younger generation really forgets that
Yeah.
you have to put in your time. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that? Because I just see a lot of people thinking like, I'll do this, I'll do that. I mean, and I'm an older generation, so I truly believe like, and I say this all the time, my dad told me you can do and have anything in life you want. You just have to work for it.
Yes.
So
I definitely think it's interesting to see. I think there's a lot more flexibility with jobs nowadays where you could do remote, or there's like a social media job or something more related to being online. I think it's definitely, there's both sides of the spectrum, but I do think it was nice to kind of see like you do have to start somewhere, normally at the bottom, like relating this back to nursing. If anyone's a nurse listening or they know nurses, you have to start at the bottom as a nurse. So that means you'll be working weekends, you'll be working holidays, you'll be working the overnight shifts, and it's obviously not for everyone, but you do have to start somewhere. And I think that was one of the things that is definitely important to remember. And I do think a lot of people I know personally, they think they can come out and they'll start making like six figures and they have big dreams, which is great. Like you will get there if you want to eventually, but I do think it's important to remember you do have to put in your time and start somewhere. And I do think that's also something that you guys always talked about. And I know like starting a business wasn't easy, but you put in your time over time, became successful. So I think I was able to see like the end, not the end, but the second half of the successful business, not the first half. But you guys did always tell me about having to put in your time, and you have to start somewhere, which is at the bottom. But
yeah, I will say you got to benefit from
Yeah.
not. Well, you were little too. I mean, I remember
I remember the first building.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
building and stuff. You were still in diapers.
Yeah.
You were little. I think you thought you were the meet and greet. She would run
Yes.
it and meet all the clients. And I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I did not meet. Oh, no, she's so cute.
Yeah.
And stuff. So she thought she was the meter and the greeter.
I did.
But I do remember, I mean, like, we didn't go on vacations
No.
every year. We were just working, I think.
Yeah.
Working all the time to
Yeah.
get to be where we are today. And I do think it's very different now.
I just think there's a lot more paths you can take besides a traditional 9 to 5. I think there's a lot, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of different
I
avenues.
agree. There's a lot more opportunities.
Yes.
I mean, growing up in Rochester, Kodak was the big business where my families, my parents would work there, and like everybody would work there. Everyone would go somewhere to Kodak, whether it be Elm Grove, Kodak Park, Kodak office. You would drive in at your like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you'd come home at the same time.
Yes.
So there is a lot more opportunities, choices, diversity now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is great for young people. They have really so many more opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll also be nice for Peyton to see, because she sees the business owning side and I'm doing a little something different. So I think it'll be nice for her to kind of see two different pathways. I don't know if she'll do either of them, but she'll be able to see that there's more than just your traditional 9 to 5.
Yeah, I think Peyton sees the shopping way. I think Peyton says she wants to go to, the spa, laser center, and go because A, she gets to get stuff done, and B, she goes into our boutique and she's like,
She goes shopping.
go shopping. Yeah. And then the other funny part is anybody who's at the front desk or in the boutique says, oh, you could take it. And then she comes home and empties her pockets. I'm like, where did you get that? They said I could take it. Of course they're not saying no to you, but you can't take it.
Right.
Taylor, as a parent, what advice would you give other parents to help their kids, like in high school? And then what advice would you give students entering high school as they start, as they get closer to their senior and are thinking about picking colleges, not even colleges, picking careers?
Yeah.
What are some advice you would give now that you've been through it?
I think from a parent's perspective, I think just not limiting your children to one career. Not that I know a lot of people, but I have heard of parents who are doctors. They're like, you have to become a doctor or you have to do this field because they think it's a good career for their child and that their child may like be very prosperous from doing that. I just think it's important to always like support your kids. I think you guys did a very good job of kind of saying the world's your oyster, whatever you want to do, you can do. As long as it'll make you happy, you can support yourself later in life. And I think it was also nice that since you guys didn't know a lot about medicine and the career path I wanted to take, you reached out to people who you knew, asked them to come talk to me, set up shadowing opportunities for me, and you were able to kind of give me resources like Jackie, who knew more about the career I wanted to take. So I think just from a parent's perspective, being very supporting of your kid. If you don't know a lot about something they want to do or they might be interested in, I think it's important to do some research. You can reach out to people or friends you may have who are in those fields, kind of get their take on it. But I think just really supporting your kid. And if your child doesn't know what they want to do, I think you can help them kind of navigate what they don't want to do first. For me, I knew I didn't want to go into business. I knew sitting at a desk crunching numbers and doing finances all day would bore me till the end of the earth. So I knew that wasn't for me, and we could immediately kind of get that off the table. So I think also your kid doesn't have to know exactly what they want to do when they're 16, but I do think as you start getting closer to senior year in high school and you have to start thinking about colleges, maybe careers you might want to do, what school you want to go to, I do think you can kind of guide them along the process. And I just think really supporting your kid, learning their interests, what they don't want to do, what they want to do. I know everyone's not able to give their kids a lot of resources, but I know that you can do something yourself by just researching it and everything. And I think for kids, for advice for children or people in high school, obviously you don't need to know what you want to do, and that's okay. And I think that's one thing you guys did a very good job of telling me. I don't have to have my whole life planned out at the moment. I'm only 16. I have many, many, many more years to figure out what I want to do, but you have to start somewhere. And even like children, like you guys can do research yourself or ask your friends or friends' older siblings what they've enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, stuff like that. So I just think communication is key, especially when your child is 16 and they usually hate their parents and they don't want any advice from them unless specifically prompted. But I just think, yeah, communication is always super important. Communication is key.
I think that's huge. And the statistic is around 50% of people who leave college and go after their first career in their lifetime, they will change to a totally different career.
Yes.
I've done that. Dad's done that. We have friends. I mean, the statistic is around 50%. So that's normal. And it's funny. People think, oh, I went and did this, but I'm not doing. Okay, great. You're not doing it, Life's too short to be stuck doing something you don't like.
Yes.
And I would tell anybody that.
Yes.
Follow your heart. Doesn't matter what you went to school for, if you didn't go to school. If you do something you enjoy and you really enjoy it, you will be successful.
Yeah. I always knew that because you guys always reiterated it to me when I was younger, but I think going through nursing school and working in the hospital and seeing patients and stuff, it is one thing to definitely try and tell yourself and remember that life is very short and you never know what's going to happen. So you might as well do what makes you happy, because if you're happy and you're doing what you love, it's not really work. It's just something you're doing and you're enjoying. So I do think that it is important to try and remember life is short. You want to make the most of it. Do what makes you happy. And I know it's hard to think like that when you're 16 and you haven't really had life thrown at you completely. You might have gone through some things, but you haven't faced adult life and stuff like that. So I think also just from both a parent and a teenager perspective, just remembering that, encouraging them to do what makes them happy, follow their dreams, and if you want to get somewhere, you just have to work hard enough and you can achieve that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of my mottos in life is work hard, play hard.
Yes.
And I've always said that to my girls.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer in that. You know, as hard as you work, you have to play as hard.
Yeah, I think another important takeaway that I've learned from you is whatever happens is meant to be. If something you're supposed to have in your life or a path you're supposed to take, if it's meant for you, like it will happen. You might have some resistance, but if something is consistently pushing you away from something, I do think it's important to take note. And I'm a true believer of what's meant to be will be. And that did happen with my first job. I was having a really hard time finding a job, and it did take me a little longer, but I finally found one, and I loved it. And
Which one was that?
Working in orthopedics.
Yeah, you did love
Yeah,
that.
I loved that job. So I just think that's also important. Like, I know some parents have like specific timelines for their children, but I just think it's also important to remember what's meant to be will be.
Yeah, and I also truly believe every child has their own journey.
Yes.
So, and I say this because, again, I have two girls. Taylor is very academic, very goal orientated. And then I have my younger daughter, Peyton, who, as you already probably know, has ADHD. So,
Very free-spirited.
very free spirited, very sweet, very empathetic. Not saying you're not.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey now.
Not saying you're not, but like, you know, we'll save a fly and bring it
Yeah.
outside and make sure it has its own home.
Yeah.
Very caring, you know, can't do math to save her life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so her journey is totally different already. And we've, you know, talked about different things for her, even though she's only 14 and she's going into high school. So her path, I think you two are complete opposites.
Yeah, we're very different.
Which is great. So,
Yeah.
you know, you got to look as a mom and going through life, especially at high school and careers, you know, you got to look at the individual and what will best suit them. What are their loves, their likes. The research sources we give to Peyton or look for her will be totally different than yours.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of huge. I mean, we live in a community that, you know, on our street, I think there's like all doctors of all types. We have this whole street of doctors.
Yes.
And, you know, there's like two houses that aren't. And we're business people, and we're like, okay, what are those initials stand for? The CRNA.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just, you know, so again, in our community, like healthcare, doctors, and that's why you brought it up earlier. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know, we'd have a lot of doctors. My kid's going to be a doctor. Oh, okay. Did you let your kid know that yet?
Yeah, right. I do think that you bring up a good point, though, like for parents, if you have multiple kids who are around like teenage age or trying to pick a career, they might be totally different. So I think it's important to remember they're not all going to be the same, and kind of having to learn to adapt to each of their learning styles, how they receive information, what career they might want to do. I think Peyton and I are a prime example of very opposite people. We'll probably have opposite careers, opposite lifestyles. But yeah, I think that's something important to remember. Not everyone's the same, and you definitely have to cater to the person and what they want to do and how they want to live their life.
So are you basically saying that parents should really listen to their teenagers
Yes.
and some of their bright ideas?
Yes.
But you know what?
You may think your teenager's being mean, but you should listen to them sometimes.
Sometimes. Right?
Sometimes, keyword sometimes. 16-year-old Taylor would probably say it all the time, but 24-year-old Taylor is saying every once in a blue moon, maybe listen to your child.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, the one thing is, like, for me, when I was in the business world, I was in corporate America, hating it. And I remember going to my dad and saying, I want to leave this great job, high paying, great benefits to do something on my own. And I said, what do you think? My mom was like, what do you mean you're going to give all that up? Why? What are you going to do? And she thought I lost my entire mind.
Yeah.
My dad was like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm like, well, I don't like it. And I go back to it. He goes, yeah, so give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you can always try different things, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like, no one really in my family, they all were kind of corporate. And no one ever said, okay, this is a great corporate job. I know, and I should be really lucky. I'm very thrilled, but I hate it.
Yeah.
So, I think to just, as a parent, kind of support your crazy kids' ideas. Because you never know if they're going to be the next, Google person or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important. I really, really wanted to kind of share that with everybody.
Yeah.
I think really listening and having an open communication is huge.
Yeah, I agree.
And trying things. Like, what happens if you went to Alabama and you hated it? What would we have done?
Said you tried it, you didn't like it. Come on home, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, what's next? Let's try something else.
Yeah.
So we never looked at things as failures. You can try everything.
Yeah.
So that I often I tell my staff, if you don't try, you'll never know. And if you try and you fail and it's not meant to be, that's perfect. You check that off your list and move on to the next thing.
I think one thing you also pointed out that I think you got a lot from Grandpa, but you always talk about leaving a legacy, leaving something behind for us. And I think that's also like a nice thing to think about is like, how do you want to impact the world? And I know like I'm destined for great things because I think you've always put into our heads, like, how do you want to impact the world? What do you want to do to make it a better place? Like, what's your legacy you want to leave? And you always talk about like leaving your legacy for us. But it's also kind of put into our minds, like, what do we really want to do to make a difference in the world? And I think if you don't know what you want to do career-wise, you can always start with that question. Like, how do you want to help the world? What is it you want the world to take away from you? How do you want to impact it? Whether it's helping people in a hospital, maybe you want to save the environment. I don't know. I think it can definitely be maybe like jog your brain a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's really good because, my legacy is I want to make sure I do a good job to set you two up in life. Mm-hmm. And, like one of my things I'd love is my clothing line to support the ADHD Foundation.
Yes.
My clothing line is BA Badass, and the money goes towards a foundation to help kids with ADHD. I want that for them. I've written a book and to help other people who are, and the book is called Rags to Riches, How Beauty Icons Made It Big, but anybody in the beauty industry who's thinking about going out on their own or having a partner or all the ups and downs of a business. And then the other thing is the consulting. I love, love, love helping the young kids in the industry figures out the things they should do, shouldn't do, how to get them to where they want to be quicker and faster and more efficient.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way to put it, is like your legacy. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any last comments, thoughts?
I think just to reiterate a couple things we already talked about, there is no, the world's your oyster. We've said that. You can always try something. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and you can always take another path. I don't think you should ever, sell yourself short. Go after what you want to do. Ask yourself, how do you want to impact the world? What do you want to get from life? And I just think even if you don't know what you want to do with your career, you might not ever know, really. And there's always new things that are happening, and you can always kind of change paths if that's what you want to do. But I just think be happy, try to support yourself, support the lifestyle you want to live, do something that makes you happy. I have learned a lot recently about how to fill your own cup up, and I do think your job might be something, maybe not fill your whole cup, you should have other hobbies and stuff, but it should fulfill you in some way. And I don't think if you like your job, it shouldn't feel like work. And I just think you
I
should
agree with that.
just do something that makes you happy. Life's too short not to.
That was well said.
Thank you.
You did a really good job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a wrap from Taylor Pudetti and
Yes.
me. So thank you very much for joining us with this episode. One last thing, I love you, dear.
I love you. Thanks for
Okay.
having me on. This
I
was
know.
fun.
Okay, can we clean the house now?
Right, yeah. All right. Podcast check. Clean house to be checked.
Bye.
Bye.